Theories in Nonprofit Program Evaluation. Organizational behavior perspective, the study of human and group behavior within organizational settings. The study of organizational behavior involves looking at the attitudes, interpersonal relationships, performance, productivity, job satisfaction, and commitment of employees, as well as levels of organizational commitment and industrial relations. Organizational behavior can be affected by corporate culture, leadership, and management style. Organizational behavior emerged as a distinct specialty from organizational theory in the late 1950s and early 1960s through attempts to integrate different perspectives on human and management problems and develop an understanding of behavioral dynamics within organizations. Organizational behavior is concerned with all aspects of how organizations influence the behavior of individuals and how individuals in turn influence organizations. Learning organization theory. Organizational learning theory has reflected the dual emphasis of structural, technical, and social cognitive systems. A change in the technical system necessarily impacts on the functioning of the social system, and a change in the social system has impacts on the technical system. Peter Senge popularized the learning organization in the fifth discipline, the art and practice of the learning organization. He describes the organization as an organism with the capacity to enhance its capabilities and shape its own future. A learning organization is any organization, like a school, business, government agency, that understands itself as a complex, organic system that has a vision and a purpose. It uses feedback systems and alignment mechanisms to achieve its goals. It values teams and leadership throughout the ranks. The technical view assumes that organizational learning is about the effective processing, interpretation of, and response to information both inside and outside the organization. This information may be quantitative or qualitative, but is generally explicit and in the public domain. The social perspective on organizational learning focuses on the way people make sense of their experiences at work and learn from social interactions. Mental models function by activating memories and responses that were previously developed to solve earlier problems or to address previous incidents. Social development perspective. The social development approach seeks to integrate economic and social policies within a dynamic development process in order to achieve social welfare objectives. By adding the developmental dimension, social development is shown to transcend the dichotomy between the residualist approach, which concentrates on targeting resources to the most needy, and the institutional approach, which urges extensive state involvement in welfare. Links social welfare directly to economic development and seeks to harmonize objectives. Failure results in distorted development and social deprivation. Community organization theory. Community organization theory has its roots in theories of social networks and support. It emphasizes active participation in developing communities that can better evaluate and solve social problems. Community organization is a process by which community groups are helped to identify common problems or goals, mobilize resources, and develop and implement strategies for reaching their goals. It has roots in several theoretical perspectives: the ecological perspective, social systems perspective, social networks, and social support. Social workers use a broad cross-section of people in the community to identify and solve its own problems: focus groups, task forces, committees. It stresses consensus development, capacity building, and a strong task orientation. Outside practitioners help to coordinate and enable the community to successfully address its concerns. Social planning uses tasks and goals and addresses substantive problem solving, with expert practitioners providing technical assistance to benefit community consumers. Social action aims to increase the problem-solving ability of the community and to achieve concrete changes to redress social injustice that is identified by a disadvantaged or oppressed group. Human rights perspective. Rights that are inherent to human nature, without which we cannot live as human beings, based on the inherent worth and dignity of each human being and the idea that this deserves respect and protection. This includes the right to life, liberty, and security of person, freedom of association, expression, assembly, and movement. Equal access to education, health and economic opportunities, the right to the highest attainable standard of health and well-being. Ecological theory. The focus on interrelational transactions between systems and stresses that all existing elements within an ecosystem play an equal role in maintaining balance of the whole. This approach can be best understood as looking at persons, families, cultures, communities, and policies, and to identify and intervene upon strengths and weaknesses in the transactional processes between these systems. In this framework, the casework and client must understand the interconnectedness of the client to his or her environment to effectively assess the problem and design a solution and to ensure goal achievement and sustainability. General systems theory. Ludwig van Bertalanffy in 1968 proposed a system is characterized by the interactions of its components and the nonlinearity of those interactions. Focus changed from linear causality to circular causality, the idea that events are related even through a series of interacting loops or repeating cycles. A system may be in harmony with an environment. Such a system may be said to be balanced or homeostatic. Key concepts include set of elements standing in interaction. Each element is affected by whatever happens to any other element. System is only as strong as its weakest part. System is greater than the sum of its parts. Boundaries are more or less permeable depending on the amount and type of feedback received. Systems can be either controlled, cybernetic, or uncontrolled. In controlled systems, information is sensed and changes are effected in response to the information. Communication and transaction are the only intersystem interactions. Communication is the exchange of information, while transaction involves the exchange of matter energy. All organizational and social interactions involve communication and/or transaction to achieve equilibrium. The boundaries may be permeable or impermeable. This defines the difference between an open or closed system. Most systems display characteristics of both being open and closed. Many systems are goal-directed, that is, interaction with their environment has some purpose or direction or value or goal or design. Open systems have inputs, energy or matter that enters through the boundaries, and outputs, energy or matter or waste, that departs through the boundaries. Throughputs or those things or energies that pass through without alteration, sensors, and so on. Conflict theory. Conflict theory states that society or an organization functions so that each individual participant and its groups struggle to maximize their benefits, which inevitably contributes to social change, such as political changes and revolutions. The theory is mostly applied to explain conflicts between social classes, proletariat versus bourgeoisie, and in ideologies such as capitalism versus socialism. The emphasis is on capitalism or society or institutions as the problem, not the individual, group, or community. Here, the social worker must also help clients to cope with capitalism, but at the same time, he or she will work to change the society and institutions and educate clients about options and the possibility of different societal relationships. With this perspective, inequality is inherent in the capitalist society, as seen in many areas like gender, disabilities, race, age, and sexual orientation. Social learning theory, sometimes referred to as modeling, observational learning, or vicarious learning, incorporates elements of operant conditioning or radical behaviorism and social cognition. People learn behavior through modeling, through positive and negative reinforcement. A person is a social being and lives within a group or community, therefore he tends to perform actions and behave in a manner conducive to community approval. In social learning, all behavior is goal-directed and emphasizes expectations of reward and perceived values of rewards as the basis for modeling one's behavior on that of others. Social learning includes concept of locus of control, which refers to the view of internal-external control of reinforcement. Bandura believed that self-regulation mediated external influences and provided a basis for action, empowering individuals to assume responsibility and control for their actions and motivators. Motivation can occur externally, such as a promised reward, or internally, such as when an individual feels self-pride when a standard is reached. If the individual believes that they are capable of achieving an individual or organizational goal, they're likely to work hard and achieve the goal. Bandura describes the second factor of determining the degree of motivation as effective feedback. Through feedback, individuals are able to adjust or control their efforts toward achieving a goal, making the goal more realistic and attainable. Empowerment theory. Empowerment is the process by which individuals and groups gain power, access to resources, and control over their own lives. In doing so, they gain the ability to achieve their highest personal and collective aspirations. Empowerment resides in the person, not the helper or social worker. Addresses oppression, stratification, and equality as social barriers, does not blame for lack of resources and power, rejects that problems develop because of personal deficiencies. From an organizational perspective, empowerment is promoted in work environments that provide employees with access to information, resources, support, and the opportunity to learn and develop. Kluska et al. At 2004 have noted that psychological empowerment includes feelings of competence, autonomy, job meaningfulness, and an ability to impact the organization. Management theory. The major classical management concepts were planning, organizing, developing, staffing, coordinating, and budgeting. Later, management theory recognized man is motivated by social needs, not just economic need. In this way, managers are expected to develop relationships and environments that enable people to work together and respond to change. Such joint performance involves having common goals, common values, the right structures, and continuing training and development. In management of social service agencies, issues include ethics in making personnel decisions, managing finances, diverse sources of funding, maintaining ethical and legal practices like decreasing potential for liability, planning, and maintaining key relationships. Thank you very much.